What's up, Yinzers, Yinzettes? Welcome to episode 5 of PUCKS, where we give you the latest downtime breakdowns and pretty much everything Penguins hockey from this past week. This week, we're going to talk a little bit of Cody Glass, player that tends to be trending up here. We're also going to talk about the new look Penguins power play, as well as, some reasons for optimism and maybe some reasons for pessimism with this team. So stick around. We're going to talk about all of that, much more, and that. Hey guys.
Well, okay.
Yeah, we got that pretty good that time. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 5, Pucks and Ada. Thanks for tuning in again on this Wednesday evening. We're again coming to you a little bit later than we intended. Lots of technical issues on my end today, so I apologize. But how you doing today, Hannah?
You know what? I'm no longer sick. I have a voice. I can see. So I am trending up, as the Pucks and At pod says.
Hey, and I'm trending down. I'm starting to get sick. I got a sinus infection.
Oh, that's what I had. Lovely. You're in for a treat.
Yeah, it's a fun time. It's one of those things.
You a medicine recommendation that worked wonders for me.
Yes, please. All right.
So, the week in review, other than our statuses in terms of health, they didn't play Thursday, but they did play Friday. It was a 4-2 loss to the Rangers at Madison Square Garden. The game started off well. It was scoreless through the first period. Blake Lizotte got the first goal of the game, but then the Rangers, the hits start coming and they don't stop coming. Panarin scored twice. Philip Tomasino tied the game, then was injured, but the Rangers got the next two, courtesy of old friend Riley Smith, and ultimately won.
Yep, and Smith got the game-winning goal there too. So,
of course he did. Why wouldn't he?
Good stuff, right? And Mike Sullivan after the game said that this was one of the Penguins' worst performances of the season. I would have to agree. We'll kind of trace back to this a little bit later too, but on the Rangers' fourth goal there, Penguins were actually, pushing a little bit in the offensive zone. They had their third line out there. Anthony Beauvillier kind of makes an ill-advised cross-ice pass while they were pressuring in the offensive zone. Rangers take it the other way. There's a lot of things that went wrong on that Trocheck goal, but that was kind of the dagger, the nail in the coffin, I guess you could say there. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those things. The Penguins have been playing well. They were riding a 4-game winning streak. And they did shake it off pretty quickly because the very next day in Toronto, they probably played, I'd say other than maybe the Washington game, that was probably their best performance of the season.
I think this was it. I think this was their best game of the season.
Yeah.
And what a time to do it on Hockey Night in Canada, just 24 hours after a lackluster loss. That's the time for a big energy momentum swing in the season, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I this was just a complete game from start to finish. They score pretty early on Rickard Rakell power play goal. Originally, we thought Matt Grzelcyk may have gotten his first in a Penguins uniform. Rakell even kind of after the game was like, pretty sly about admitting that he knew it touched his foot because he kind of like kicked his leg up there. But he was like, but I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to whine about it. So I just didn't. But yeah.
I thought it bounced off of the Toronto defenseman, even on second, third viewing. I really did.
Yeah. Every time I watch that replay, I feel like I come away with something different. It's like, it's like watching an old movie and you pick up on new things every time, except it's different every time.
Sure.
The first time I watched it, I thought Sid might have touched it and then it hit Rakell. And then I was like, maybe Sid didn't touch it and it was just Rakell. And I was like, oh, well, maybe just Rakell touched it. And I was like, oh, wait, there's this.
Rakell even touch it?
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, power play goal. So that kind of started it off. Brian Rust added one at the end of the period there. Just another great play by Crosby there. Really nice pass by him. Yeah, so And then, Toronto did tie it up in the second on a William Nylander goal. But then the Penguins really locked it down in the third. They scored 3 unanswered goals, one by who else but Michael Bunting with the
Oh,
game
yeah.
winner.
You know that one had to feel really good, right? I mean, the game-winning goal on the power play, and you could see him talking smack all the way up the bench on his way to the handshake line. You could
Yeah. Yeah, you could see it. He had a whole slew of Toronto reporters just following him around before and after the game. And
oh, I bet.
there was a whole scrum there afterwards. So yeah, for Michael Bunting, I mean, no one better to do it. That was also on the power play. And then Blake Lizotte, shocker there, adds a really nice empty net goal. I mean, that effort on
Short-handed
that
empty net goal
goal,
at that.
yes, shorthanded empty net goal. And he really earned that goal too, because he won a puck battle. He forced the turnover. He wins the puck battle along the wall, and then fires a perfect shot all the way from the D zone into the net. Can't say enough about how good he's been. And then Crystal Tang adds that other empty netter, or excuse me, empty netter at the end.
Also shorthanded. Two
Also
shorthanded empty
shorthanded.
net goals.
Yeah.
Talk about some clutch, long-range shooting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The Penguins, I mean, that was the name of the game. Against Toronto was special teams. They had 2 shorthanded goals, they had 2 power play goals. And speaking of the power play, I mean, this is the first time against Toronto. And I mean, I know I've seen a lot of mixed reaction to the Penguins' new look power play on social media in recent days. But they decided to kind of split the power play into 2 units. One run by Crosby, one run by Malkin / Carlson, and the first unit, if you want to call it that, has been Crosby, Kirkell, Kevin Hayes, Crystal Tang, Matt Grzelcyk. Second power play, Malkin, Cody Glass, and then Philip Tomasino in the Colorado game on Tuesday, which we'll get to in a second. But Brian Russ, Michael Bunting, Erik Karlsson. So they're really deciding to divide up the talent, not have too many cooks in the kitchen on the power play as they kind of had in the past. And my personal take on this is I actually like this approach. I think that they can pretty much deploy these units evenly. And you saw during the Toronto game, I mean, they had, I think, the right mix of personnel on these units. And it was really working for them that game.
It did not, however, work for them in Tuesday's game against the Colorado Avalanche. That was a 6-2 defeat, and boy, oh boy, did they look unenergized, unenthusiastic. Just for the better part of the game, they didn't show up. The first 20 minutes, they were down 3-0 on, a Nathan MacKinnon goal and 2 Mikko Rantanen goals. The first Mikko Rantanen goal, the second Colorado Avalanche goal. Filthy, by the way. Just in tight, nasty. Mikko Rantanen is going to make a lot of money this offseason as a free agent. And then the Penguins fought back. Cody Glass got his first as a Penguin. And right after he drew this penalty, Michael Bunting scored right after a very, very bad power play after an excellent pass from Erik Karlsson. But that's where their comeback ended. Val Nichushkin got the next goal of the game, and it didn't stop coming. Arturi Lehkonen scored, and then Mikko Rantanen got the empty netter to complete the hat trick, which I believe was the first hat trick on PPG Paints Arena ice this season. 2 5-point nights. Nathan MacKinnon had a goal and 4 assists. Mikko Rantanen obviously had his hat trick and 2 assists to go along with it. Tristan Jarry, who had been trending up, did not have a great game. It was not an ideal effort from the Penguins. It wasn't great. But one good thing to take away is that it seems that Cody Glass is now in the top 6. He scored his first goal as a Penguin. which great for him, especially since it really feels like he's been getting robbed left and right. It feels like he really should be scoring because of, how well he's been playing when he's been healthy. But finally, he gets his first as a Penguin. He probably should have scored his first as a Penguin on Saturday against Toronto on the power play, but he kind of got taken down by Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I thought he was hurt again at that point. He went right to the bench, and he was like talking with the spotter for a while, but he's fine. So that's good, especially since he's in the top 6 now. Oh, glory, hallelujah. I don't know what's going on.
Did it continue to record?
There we go. It is. Oh, Kelsey, I did really good. I talked about the whole Colorado Avalanche game.
Well, if you could do that again real quick, we'll just pick up right where we left off, and
Sure.
We'll pick up right now. So, guys, I just want to let you know there might be an awkward cut that you just heard because I am having so many technical difficulties today. I just completely bailed on Hannah in the middle of her talking about the Colorado Avalanche game.
No, so we should keep that. I don't think I could recreate it better than that. I was just.
Well, then you know what? We're not even going to take it out. We're just going to keep it.
Center, I panicked and started talking about Cody Glass.
I am so sorry. I am back, and I trust that you did a great job in my absence. So, thank you for holding it down.
Anyway, Kelsey, if you have more to add about Cody Glass,
I do, but we can circle back because I think he might be somebody I talk about later, may or may not.
Sure.
So yeah, I can kind of weave that in, and being that I don't know exactly what you said, I'll just trust that you covered Cody Glass beautifully. So
I did. I said he's in the top 6 now. Oh, glory, hallelujah, were my exact words, I believe.
Okay, great, awesome. All right, well, let's get this train back on the tracks. So, fully, anyways. Hannah kind of kept it on the tracks. It was leaning a little bit, and
it was leaning a lot, but it was on the tracks.
We're still here. Anyway, so I do want to kind of transition just for a second here, and talk about some of the Penguins prospects. I know we haven't done an update on prospects really at all on this podcast yet. And I do know it's something that, people kind of like to know what's going down on the farm. My bad. So yeah, I wrote a piece a couple days ago. It might have been yesterday. I'm losing track of days. Just on 5 players to kind of keep an eye on right now at the AHL level. And one of them I think has been getting a lot of attention is Tristan Brose. He is second among all skaters with 14 points in 19 games. He also he's tied for the team lead in goals with Boris Kachuk. So he's having a pretty good year down there so far. I think this is one of those situations, and I think it's the same thing, with somebody like a Ville Koivunen, who's also one of the people I mentioned too. I don't think these guys' development's going to be rushed. I mean, even with injuries, so on and so forth. I think it's more important and imperative that they continue to develop at the professional hockey level. And I do think there's a possibility that we maybe see one or both of those guys towards the end of the season, especially if injuries become an issue. But I mean, for now, they're in the early, part of their professional careers down at the AHL level. They both transitioned pretty seamlessly. And I think they're obviously definitely 2 guys to keep an eye on. Another guy I kind of want to talk about that I feel like is flying under the radar a bit is Philip Kral. Defenseman. I saw Hannah kind of do a little head nod there.
Yep.
I like what I'm
seeing from Kral.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the Penguins' defensive situation is going to get pretty interesting this season.
That's a word
Um,
for it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's already pretty interesting, but I mean, even just in terms of you think about, we've talked a couple times about just the potential for the trade market with guys like Marcus Pettersson, even Matt Grzelcyk, who's only on a 1-year deal. Um, as much as it's been a struggle for him at times 5-on-5 this season, he has been a good power play quarterback for the Penguins. So, I mean, Grzelcyk's a right defenseman. Pettersson's a left defenseman. Philip Kral is also a left defenseman. But I think the interesting thing here, so Kyle Dubas drafted Philip Kral when he was at Toronto. And right now, he has 10 points in 13 games. That includes 3 goals. And I was pretty impressed by his training camp. I think it fell off a little bit towards the end there. But I really like what I've seen in a short amount of time with Philip Kral. And I don't know if you would agree with me
No,
there.
I would. I 100% agree. He had a really good start to training camp. Like you said, it teetered off a little bit, but it it's picking up. You know, he's finding his game. He's playing very well, and I don't think it would be too shocking if he's a call up at some point, right? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, why not? I think everybody was kind of shocked by the early call up of Owen Pickering, and now he's playing on the first pairing with Chris
right.
Letang. So I think there's a lot of intrigue with the Penguins' defensive situation. And I think I kind of even go back to training camp and, the talk of Harrison Brunick potentially getting that 9-game trial run. Part of me kind of wonders what if, especially since Jack St. Ivany ended up being sent down to Wilkes-Barre anyway. What if he got that little trial run? And obviously he won't be eligible to return to the Penguins until junior season is over. But it's intriguing to say the least. And Mac Hollowell is also doing a pretty good job down there. He's a right defenseman. Also a draftee of Kyle Dubas in the same draft as Philip Kral. So, I think there's some genuinely intriguing things happening down on the farm for the Penguins. In addition, Vasily Ponomarev registered his first professional hat trick the other night against Hartford, and 2 of those goals were shorthanded. So, he had a 4-point night. He now has 4 goals, 7 points, 10 games for Wilkes-Barre. So there's some good things happening down there. They're currently second in the Atlantic Division, playing pretty well. They're only behind Hershey there. So we'll see what happens. But we've talked at length about how there's kind of been some youth injected into the system. And I think we're seeing the fruits of those labors start to turn out in Wilkes-Barre.
Big time, big time.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk about some other, fruits panning out and some trending up?
Yeah, I would love to. And I might have already spoiled it a little bit, but
That's okay. Kelsey,
go ahead and
who's trending up?
My trending up player is Cody Glass. I do just want to say I heard the little children cheer on another program the other day, and my mind immediately went to this. I was like,
I'm glad that this is taking over your every waking thought.
Yes, it, a little too much. I think about this podcast a lot. And now every time I hear children cheering, that's what I think of. But anyway, Pucks and Nat is trending up. So Cody Glass, I mean, the thing is, if you look at his metrics, I mean, he's pretty much in the middle for the most part. He's ninth in shot attempts per 60 at 14.15. His on-ice expected goal share is 50.6, which, I mean, isn't bad for a player that's mostly been deployed in a defensive role this season. Corsi's at 50% even. But, I mean, just even in this last week. So when Philip Tomasino had that, brief 1.5 game stint where he was injured, Cody Glass did take his place next to Malkin on the second line. And, he has 2 points in his last 3 games, including his first NHL goal against Colorado, which I'm sure Hannah talked about while I was gone briefly. So yeah, I mean, that was also his highest time on ice this season at 16:09. And he didn't have any power play minutes. At least he might have had some power play minutes in that third period. I kind of missed that. He didn't through the first.
Did. Like, I want to say I did in fact see him out there on the power play, but
yeah, but through the first 2 periods he didn't, and even if he did, it would have had a minimal effect on his ice time. But I think what we're starting to see from a coaching perspective and just a deployment perspective is that the Penguins are really starting to put a lot of trust into this guy. And Mike Sullivan even said today, I asked him about, elevating Glass to this top 6 role. And he mentioned his versatility. He mentioned his size. He mentioned his speed, his offensive acumen. He also mentioned the fact that he was consistently deployed against Nathan MacKinnon's line in Colorado, which, I mean, you could argue how well or how not well that went, considering the fact that MacKinnon and Rantanen each had 5 points. But, I like where this is trending with him because he's getting a more elevated offensive role on this team. And despite the fact that his first goal came against Colorado, he had plenty of chances before that. The puck just was not going in the net for him.
I talked about that as well. He was just getting robbed left and right. Like, the poor guy really just couldn't buy a goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And he, like I said, he did get that power play time in Tomasino's absence. He was on that second unit with Malkin, and like I said, I think he might have been on that last power play of the night on Sid's unit in place of Hayes. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. I was a little bit spaced out with my sinus infection at the game last night. So, but anyway, I like the fact that he's getting this opportunity in the top 6. That combination of Tomasino, Malkin, and Glass stuck at practice on Wednesday. It seems to be something that they're going to be rolling with. And I think it's especially nice to see, especially given the struggles of Drew O'Connor recently, which, again, we may or may not talk about. So I just like this switch, and I like the fact that Sullivan isn't afraid to use those types of players, the Tomasinos, the Cody Glasses, in those elevated roles, because it seems to be paying off for the Penguins.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. Since getting Tomasino on his line, Gino has looked so much better. Like, he has someone who has some skill to his game. And in the brief amount of time that he had Glass and Tomasino, even better. So if that line sticks together, I won't be mad at it at all. That's what it should be, in my opinion. That's what the second line should be.
I agree. And, I think he's earned those minutes too. I mean, he works hard. You can see that, as Sullivan said, he has that offensive acumen, but he also just has a defensive conscience, which, I mean, we've seen in the past with Gino's line. Sometimes they need that on that line. And, he can beat you with that speed. He can beat you with his size. He can beat you with his reach. So I expect to see an uptick in production for Glass, even more beyond that 2 points in the last 3 games. I expect to see that continue to climb as long as he's deployed there. So we'll see how that shakes out. But Hannah, who is your player trending up?
Well, that'll be Blake Lizotte. Now, I've said this as a joke before, that Blake Lizotte would win the Rocket Richard if only his teammates would stop shooting the puck at his head. I don't think that's actually true. He probably wouldn't actually win the Rocket Richard, not when Austin Matthews is in the league. But,
obviously,
I mean, how many points would this guy have if he was healthy all season? I mean, he has, 9 and 14 or something like that?
Yeah, 7 in his last 7, too.
Yeah. And he had a 4-game point streak going for a little while there. He had a goal and an assist in the Calgary game. He had 2 assists in the Florida game. He had a goal in the Rangers game. He had that shorthanded empty net goal against Toronto. I mean, he's producing, and it's not like the production is coming from nowhere. You know, I mean, he's playing the right way and he's also producing. He's playing the right way and he's also scoring goals. He's so fast. He works his tail off every shift. He's so good on the penalty kill. He's defensively responsible. He's smart. He's a play driving center. He's a perfect fit on that third line, no matter who you put on his wings. I mean, this is the solution to the third line center problem that has plagued the Penguins for how long?
Yeah, a long time.
Since maybe Jeff Carter in 2021?
Yeah, that's about right, yeah.
Blake Lizotte is the answer. He is a perfect fit. He is exactly what this team needs. And if this team was able to clone him, they should. Because how many defensively responsible, fast, gritty, hardworking centers, they're not that easy to come by, especially the ones that don't have to sacrifice offense for that defense.
Absolutely. I feel like true two-way third line centers are becoming harder and harder to find at the NHL level.
Especially ones that are as fast as Lizotte and as smart as Lizotte.
Oh, absolutely. And, this is kind of reminiscent, I think, of, obviously they have completely different builds, not nearly the same type of player. But this is his work ethic and just, his smarts kind of remind me a little bit of Jordan Staal.
No. The build is also the same. Blake Lizotte is also a hulking 6'4" monster of a man.
Lanky. Yeah, totally. He's totally not like 5'9", but anyway. Yeah. So I just think you see it in his work ethic. And we talked about it a little bit earlier with his empty net goal against Toronto. I mean, I feel like that was a perfect, almost like representation of what he brings to this team, because as I said, he forced a turnover. He won a puck battle on the wall, and then, perfect precision with that shot from the D zone, and his energy is palpable. You can see it in the way he forechecks, and the way he's just a very like hardline north-south player. He's a smart player. He, has his shot is a lot better than I really realized it was. I mean, I knew a little bit about him, before he came to the Penguins, but I didn't realize he had a rocket.
He does.
Up his sleeve there. It's just kind of something that caught me a little bit by surprise. And, you mentioned it. You kind of wonder where he would be if he was playing all season, if he was healthy all season. And, I think Michael Bunting has found new life, on his wing down there. I love that combination of Bunting and Lizotte. I think they're a great energy line with those two. And I don't agree with the decision to move Beauvillier off that line.
I agree with you.
I talked about that mistake he made in the Rangers game earlier. Ever since then, he's been getting buried on the fourth line. His minutes have been getting greatly reduced. He only played, a little under 7 minutes against Colorado. So,
which just doesn't make sense. I mean, he has 7 goals on the season. What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't get it. And we'll again talk about that a little bit more coming up here, but it's just a great energy line. He's the perfect third line center. He's the guy that the Penguins have been needing in that spot for a long time. He's conscious in all 3 zones. But the thing for me that really separates him is his work ethic. He works his tail off out there on every single shift. And he's the hardest worker on the ice. And that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot when you look at, the other players that are sharing the ice with him, or around him. So I couldn't agree more with your assessment. Is he's the answer at third line center for this team, because I think this production isn't a fluke. I think this is something that he's capable of sustaining.
Yeah.
All right.
And one more thing, those goals that he scores, they're pretty timely too.
Oh yeah.
He scored the first goal in a Rangers game that I was certain was going to end 1-0 in overtime, just because of the state of the two teams at the time. He scored that, shorthanded empty netter when the Penguins were only up by 1 in the waning minutes of the third period. That's a clutch gene.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, with him and Bunting both doing those things, like that is an energy line for the Penguins.
Yes,
like, when is the last time they've had that kind of third line?
It's been a long time. It really has.
You can go back to the HBK line, I think,
You
arguably. Yeah, and I'm not saying this is HBK.
No.
I don't think the K part of that especially is replaceable. But
yeah, no.
Speaking
about the K part, Kelsey and I
nice.
are going to do things a little differently this week. We're going to tag team for the Trending Dan Player of the Week. Isn't that right, Kelsey?
We are, because we were thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Especially during, last night, Tuesday's game. We just kept texting each other one name over and over and over. Kelsey, who is that name that is our Trending Dan Player of the Week?
That would be Drew O'Connor.
Ow!
Yeah, so do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
You know what? Sure, I'll take the first. I'll take the first session.
For it. I have some basic stats, so I don't know what.
Okay. Listen, if you want to start with basic stats, and then I can start with critiquing specific plays that I watch and I face palm so hard, that would work.
Okay, yeah, doesn't matter to me. So, Drew O'Connor had 3 goals in his first 6 games for the Penguins. He still has 3 goals.
Yeah,
he does not have a goal in the last 24 games.
That's 24 a lot of games.
And he only has 5 points in that stretch as well. And the thing that really stands out here to me is the guys he's playing with. I mean, it's not like he's been deployed in situations that he wouldn't be able to.
He hasn't been playing on the 4th line for most of this stretch. He's been playing on the 2nd line with Evgeny Malkin.
Yeah, either that or like some iteration of the 3rd line. But I mean, you look at the guys who have been his line mates, primarily over that stretch. You're thinking Malkin, Tomasino, Bunting, Lizotte. Malkin has 6 points in his last 10 games. Tomasino has 4 points in his 6 games in Pittsburgh. Bunting has 7 in his last 10. Lizotte has 7 in his last 7. I mean, these guys are producing, and these lines are getting chances. And Hannah will get into a little bit more of the specifics on the play-by-play, but from what I'm seeing from him, it just seems like they'll have some, momentum in the offensive zone. They'll be cycling. They'll be getting a forecheck going. And comes to Drew O'Connor, and he just loses the puck, and kills the momentum. The word that comes to mind
is black hole. Whatever line he's on, he's a black hole. Exactly like you were saying. The line will have the puck in the offensive zone. They're getting good pressure. They're cycling the puck well. They're getting chances. And when it comes time for a certain player to either finish that chance or to set up the finish, it's like the second sock in the washing machine. It just vanishes. It's gone. It is a black hole. He is a black hole of offense right now. Last night, one play really sticks out for me. It was during the 2nd period. I could not tell you exactly what time it was.
Yeah, I don't have a timestamp on that
That's
either,
okay.
unfortunately.
I didn't think you would. I just thought
Yeah, it was during the
you
second
never
period, though.
know. So Drew O'Connor, at this point, still on the second line again with Evgeny Malkin and Philip Tomasino. They're in the defensive zone. I think it's Tomasino who makes a good play and breaks up, a pass. He passes over to Drew O'Connor, and what does Drew O'Connor do? I'm not sure because he doesn't have the puck. Like, he simply can't receive passes right now.
Yeah.
By magic, God, witchcraft, something, he gets the puck back. He's taken off. He's going. And then what does he do? He loses the puck again.
Yep.
On the same play, on the same shift. He lost the puck twice. This would have been a high danger scoring chance. This was, again, because I don't have time frames, either right before or right after that Michael Bunting goal. This is a big moment in the game.
Yeah. I think it was right before. I think it was right
Okay.
before, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I mean, you said it. I think, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Drew O'Connor's ever had like great hands. I think I mean, even when he was playing well, that's always kind of been a weakness of his game. I just think he kind of has, hate to say it, but hands of stone.
Yeah.
And he can score off the rush and everything whenever he's at his best and whenever he's on his game. But I mean, even Mike Sullivan today said somebody asked him about the play of Drew O'Connor and just what they can do to help him through the scoring drought. And Sullivan said, in my experience of trying to help players go through struggles offensively is to take the focus off of trying to score. Now, that wouldn't be an issue, except that I don't think his all-around game is really getting it done either. I mean, he's been one of the Penguins' worst defensive forwards this season. He's been okay on the penalty kill, but even I've seen a few slip-ups there. Yeah, it's not like he hasn't been Blake Lizotte on the penalty kill. He hasn't been Noel Chari on the penalty kill. He's a forward on the penalty kill.
Even Cody Glass, when he wasn't scoring, still on the penalty kill, he was getting it done. He was doing exactly what was asked of him.
Yeah, exactly. And I do want to point out too, this stat is just staggering to me. This is an advanced stat. So now, granted, I do think this indicates that he's getting a lot of chances to score and that he's just not finishing. He's not capable of finishing plays right now. He's dead last in goals above expected at -6. -6. What that means is that Drew O'Connor should have 6 more goals on the season than he currently has right now. The next closest Penguins player on this roster is Noel Chari at -3.7.
Yeah, this is not for the Penguins. This is like for the whole league, right?
No, this is Penguins. This is just the Penguins.
What was that for the whole league?
Oh, I'll look right now. But yeah, I just had the Penguins one up. But yeah, I mean, that's so crazy to me. You got it?
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, lowest goals above expected. At this point, it was a -4.1. This was on Sunday. So
okay.
There's been only one game, and it's already down to a -6, you say?
Yeah.
Incredible
he's
work.
at -6. Yeah.
He was 762nd out of 768 players in the entire league.
Yeah.
He is that's the 6th worst player at scoring in the entire league.
Yeah.
And he's on your second line. Listen, if you want to put him on the 4th line playing 7 minutes a night,
like Beauvillier's minutes, yeah.
Not the second line, and certainly not the third line, what they have right now with Lizotte and Bunting. Listen, you can come at me. You can disagree. The top line should stay as is. The second line should be Cody Glass, Evgeny Malkin, and Philip Tomasino. The third line should be Michael Bunting, Blake Lizotte, and Jesse Puljujarvi, or Anthony Beauvillier. I don't care. The fourth line, I don't care. Either Puljujarvi or Beauvillier. I know we talked about Puljujarvi not being a fourth line player, but what other fourth line player are you going to put in? Because I think Drew O'Connor needs a game or two in the press box.
I can't say I disagree with you. And I do think, I mean, even in the short, I mean, Pugliarvi even said, like, after his performance on Saturday that he didn't feel good about, his game on Saturday. And I still thought, I mean, he didn't stand out in any particular way, but he also didn't stand out in a bad way. And I
Yeah,
guess
the same can't be said for Drew O'Connor.
yeah, and I totally agree. And I think it's interesting if you follow his ice time too, because I did mention Beauvillier's ice time later. That one's still baffling to me. I don't understand why Beauvillier isn't on that third line with Blazat and Bunting, even with Pugliarvi as a scratch. But Drew O'Connor's ice time started to decline a little bit. Between the Tampa Bay game and the Calgary game. Now, and then in the Calgary game, kind of hiked back up. He was playing around 15 minutes a night again. And then against Colorado, it did tick back down to 12:29.
By the way, just talking about
What did you say?
what you were saying. I digress.
No, sorry, I missed what you said. What did you say?
I said it makes no sense to me.
Yeah. His it did tick back down against Colorado. Because against Colorado, he only played 12 minutes, 29 seconds. I think the Penguins and Mike Sullivan are well aware of his struggles right now. And I think the intriguing thing, too, and I'll keep this brief, is, we've heard his name kind of in trade talks. There's some rumors out there. The teams are interested in Drew O'Connor. If I'm the Penguins, I am dealing him as soon as, the right offer comes around. Because it's one of those things. I just... You hate to see his value tank more than it already has.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He's not in any way, shape, or form making himself a more valuable asset.
No.
If you have an offer that is halfway decent on the table, take it. His
Absolutely.
value might never be higher.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And especially considering the fact that he's an unrestricted free agent. He's one of those contracts you want to sell off and you want to do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Drew O'Connor trending down. That was for both of us. Once again, change that up a little bit. So last point I kind of want to hit here, just really briefly. The Penguins are 5-2 in their last 7 games. The Rangers game was a bit of a stinker. The Colorado game was a bit of a stinker. But aside from that, I mean, even if you look at the Colorado game, even the Penguins players said afterwards that there were some positives to pull from that game. I think the power play really let them down in that game.
Yeah, I would agree with you there.
Yeah, the power play was 0-for-4. It was a mess. And they didn't practice special teams on Wednesday, so it's hard. Can't say yet if they've made any changes to those units. I mean, maybe the only thing I would possibly change is having Cody Glass instead of Kevin Hayes on that unit with Sid, but that's this here. Neither here or there, though.
I like the idea of Cody Glass on the power play, but I mean, if you want to put Kevin Hayes on the power play and have him just stick his rear end in front of the goalie,
agreed.
Also, would be fine with that.
Yeah, But it's whatever. The Colorado game power play let them down, but there were still some positives to take from that game. And I think if you look at, the Penguins season in a whole, I mean, they're still last in the league in goal differential at -30. So that's not great. But I mean, in this 7-game stretch, they have had 4 games where they've scored 5 or more goals. They're also outscoring opponents 27-23, which, I mean, that isn't a huge margin, but it's a positive margin. So that's a start.
That's a start.
Yeah, but I think, honestly, the biggest reason I think there might be some reason for optimism here is the fact that Crosby and Malkin haven't been producing all that much up to their standard.
100% agree with you.
Yeah, and we're seeing depth scoring from up and down the lineup. We've mentioned Blake Lizotte. We've mentioned that third line. We've mentioned Tomasino. We've mentioned Cody Glass starting to get a little bit of traction here. Anthony Beauvillier.
I have all of the goals scored in the past 3 games written down. So,
go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Malkin had 1 assist against Colorado. Sid had 1 assist against Toronto. Neither of them recorded a point against the Rangers, even though the Tomasino goal did technically come from Gino's line. He wasn't, he didn't get one of the assists. So they've each recorded 1 point in the past 3 games. And I know that the Penguins have only won one game in the past 3, but you're getting that bottom 6 scoring. How many times have Penguins fans been saying this team would be winning games if they only got one bottom 6 goal?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's pretty impressive too because I'd have to go back to this. I wrote it down somewhere, but I think Lizotte, Bunting, and Beauvillier have combined for 20 goals and 32 points this season, which I mean, just coming from those 3 guys, I mean,
Not so bad.
that's pretty good, especially considering that they've even Bunting. He started the year on the second line, but he's been mostly producing in a bottom 6 role with Blake Lizotte. Right. And in terms of Crosby and Malkin's last 10 games, Crosby has just 1 goal, 8 points in the last 10. Malkin just 1 goal, 6 points in the last 10. And then over this winning stretch, this 5-2 stretch in the last 7, Crosby has no goals, 6 points. Malkin has 1 goal, 5 points. So I think the encouraging thing here is that this is Sid and Gino. I mean, it's almost like you think they regress to the mean at some point and start, especially Sid, just like start producing at his normal clip, especially in Sid's case, because you look at, Brian Russ and Rickard Rakell's output as of late has been pretty good. So I think those points are going to start coming around for Sid, especially. And if Tomasino and Glass can really keep up this pace, you expect the same for Gino. So the fact that they're getting this scoring from up and down the lineup, this depth scoring that's been eluding them for years now, and Crosby and Malkin aren't a huge part of that output right now, that should be encouraging, because once those guys figure it out, if they keep getting the depth scoring, they should be in pretty good shape in terms of expected goals, in terms of goals for. So we'll see how that shakes out, but I think there's a good chance that things could trend up for them once the top
totally and completely agree with you there.
Yeah, and I mean, you can even look at Chris Letang and Erik Karlsson too. Chris Letang's production has been trending up recently too.
Yes, it has.
Karlsson's been pretty steady in terms of production, and actually, with his assist on Bunting's goal against Colorado, he did tie Bobby Orr for the 13th most assists by a defenseman in NHL history. So again, Penguins
he's got
top
3 points in his last 3 games. I mean,
yeah. And Letang was that against Colorado or Toronto that he had 3 points, I think.
I
think it was Toronto.
Letang just against Toronto, Letang just had that empty net shorthanded goal.
What game am I thinking of then?
Maybe
it was Florida. It might have been Florida.
Yeah, it could have been Florida.
Florida. No, it's not. Or maybe I'm just I woke up.
I have last week's written down.
It's not overly important. Maybe I just had a. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking.
I want to say it was Calgary.
I found it was Calgary. Yeah. Calgary. So yeah, I mean, once these top guys and Letang and Karlsson are already starting to pick up the pace a little bit with points, but once they're top 2 forwards, their leadership group of this team starts to pick it up production wise, they should be in pretty good shape. And in terms of that, I think it comes down to goaltending. And it comes down to team defense, which that's a big if. But, offensively, I think there's some reasons to be pretty optimistic looking ahead.
No, I totally agree with you there. In terms of pessimism, maybe you could say Tristan Jarry, who was very, very, very good against Toronto, was not very good against Colorado.
No.
And I don't even say that just from looking at the score sheet. Just some of the goals that were let in were ones that he should have had. But again, that was just one game. It feels like I'm harping. We'll see.
Yep. But I do think that's a fair That's a fair criticism because that third goal was just not a good one. That
I
off
would
angle shot
say
by
that
Rantanen, and the
the
fifth
first
goal.
goal also was not very good. I mean, you look at it, it's a 2-on-1. But Graves played the 2-on-1 well,
Yeah,
I
he
would
did the
say.
right thing there. Yeah,
You just got to stop the shooter. It was a fairly innocent looking shot. The second goal, I don't
yeah,
know,
I
it
don't
was a
know.
filthy
Yeah,
goal. It was really nice,
yeah,
but it was probably fairly preventable. The fourth goal, I would say, was a real backbreaker, and the third goal,
yeah,
like you said, that shouldn't have gone in. I mean, I know Mikko Rantanen is Mikko Rantanen, and he scores that
yeah.
goal several times. Like,
Hmm.
that's not his first goal like that, but
No. Yeah, but he was pretty slow to get over, and I think the same thing on the
yeah,
fourth goal. There was a complete defensive breakdown on the fourth goal too. I mean, the Pedersen got completely walked by Nichushkin, and then
he did in fact get completely walked.
yeah, and then Carlson didn't really help matters either by not really playing net front defense to try and stop him. But Jari was pretty slow getting over on that goal, and
Yeah,
then I also think the fifth goal, the kind of like knuckler, was probably a pretty stoppable one. But I mean, like you said, if we're looking at his body of work as a whole recently, he has been a lot better. You hope that this
yeah.
game is
That's
just
why
kind
I
of
say I feel like I'm
yeah,
harping. We'll see if this is a trend or if this is just a one game slip that he can right the ship in his next start. We'll see.
yeah. We'll see how the response is, but we hope that he's not on our next trending down list.
But
So
we'll see.
we shall see. All right. Well, that'll do it for today. Thank you for hanging around through all of the technical malfunctions,
Of
and
which there were many.
there were. And again, my apologies, Hannah. Thank you so much.
You should probably listen before you thank me. I don't know how good it was.
I'm sure you did a great job. I'm
Your
confident in
face
that.
vanished from the screen, and it's like I blacked out. It was terrifying.
I mean, I probably would have done the same thing if you just like completely, bailed. So
No, I gave it a valiant effort, and then I was like, "Oh man, she's not coming back. The next segment is hers." Oh no!
and then I'm like frantically
And
texting
then you
Hannah. I
took
was
off
like,
your
I'm done
clothes
with my
immediately.
computer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get on my phone, and then my computer just like magically restarted again, and it's whatever. But anyway, as a reminder, I'm Kelsey Surmacz. You can find me on the Hockey News Penguins website. You can also follow me on X at Kelsey_Surmacz4. Same on Threads, Blue Sky without the underscore. Hannah, where can they find you?
I'm Hannah Kirkell. You can find me on Twitter at H_Kirk6. I'm on Blue Sky at HKirk6, no underscore, and I'm on Threads at Kirkell6. You can read my National Hockey League coverage on the Sporting News. I'm a contributor there.
You're
And you
doing an
can find
awesome
me
job.
taking a nap after this podcast.
Yeah, I will too. I need to nurse the sinus, but I can feel my voice starting to go. It's starting to get a little scratchy.
Oh, actually, no. The Rangers are playing the Sabres tonight, which could be really good.
Can't wait.
I
Can't wait. Yeah, it's actually, oh my God, it's 7:00. Yeah,
Yes,
so
it
many
is.
technical malfunctions, but let's get to that Rangers Sabres game.
Let's
Glued our screens and
go so badly.
I know. I mean, I can't.
Both teams are trending down. This is
Both
gonna
teams
be
are
a
trending
mid-off
down,
of all ages.
and I can't say, especially about one particular team, that it's all that upsetting. But well,
I feel a little bad for the Sabres. Their drought is sad.
yeah, totally talking about the Sabres there. Anyway, so thanks again for tuning in, guys. We're going to sign off and we'll get this to you as soon as possible. But we'll catch you next Wednesday. And I believe, Hannah, if my calendar is correct, that'll be our last episode before the holiday break.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, so tune in next week where we'll wear our ugliest sweaters.
I think it is. I'm like double checking just to be sure. Yeah, because Christmas Day is Wednesday the 25th.
Yeah,
so,
we're not going to do that.
We won't have an episode on
Unless
Christmas
my
Day.
family is driving me really up the wall, in which case I'll say, Kelsey, please, emergency pod, please.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do it then. But as the NHL is on holiday break, we will also be on holiday break. So, yes, and we'll see you next week. If you want to wear your ugly sweaters while you're listening as well, just to join in on
Please
the
do,
fun.
in the spirit of the holiday.
Absolutely. But yeah, this is us signing off. Thanks again, guys. And stay out of trouble in that.